everyone to our episode 35 of our section Drops of Wisdom. In today's episode, we are going to discuss the book The Molecule of More by Michael E. Long, and we are going to talk about dopamine, one of the most popular molecules right now that has been raising awareness on the reward response. Also has a lot of dark side in terms of becoming addictive. And what are the characteristics of the people that have more dopamine receptors? So all of that is going to be discussed today, and we are going to understand why having more receptors is better to absorb this kind of molecule. Are you addicted to the reward system? Dopamine is one of the most polemic neurotransmitters as it regulates your cravings, decisions, creative sparks, and many times your behaviors to either pursue a great project or, sadly, waste your life in distractions. That's also dopamine's fault, in quotes. The more you understand that there is a healthy boundary in pleasures, the easier it will be for you to regulate your emotions toward addictive sources. Our brain uses control dopamine to plan, imagine, and strategize. Why? Because these things help us to make our future better than our present. But achieving this aim often means thinking outside of the box and making new connections between seemingly disparate things or things that doesn't make sense, but you have to go beyond and see what is the underlying message for the things that you want to understand. This is where creativity comes into play. It is the skill of making unusual connections. Artists, musicians, writers tend to have brains that are rich in dopamine. This allows them to think in new, unconventional ways and to come up with connections no one's ever thought before. Like, for example, George Lucas and the Star Wars um, series of movies. All of those things, how could he have such an imagination for a powerful story that was uh, thought about it before all of the technology that we are seeing now in the movies have even become invented? That's the power of linking the things. That's the power of dopamine in presence. The creative power of dopamine has a flip side. When dopamine activity gets out of hand, people can experience hallucinations, delusions, or mania. This is common for people who live with schizophrenia or bipolar disorder. And we saw an example of that in another movie, the one of A Beautiful Mind by Russell Crowe. Did you remember that famous mathematician that had those problems of listening to voices and feeling persecuted? Well, that is the dark side of dopamine also. This explains why people who live with schizophrenia or bipolar disorder produce creative geniuses but can go easily into psychiatric disease. So those are the both sides of dopamine. Dopamine makes us seek out new experiences, and the more receptors our brain have for this chemical, the stronger its effect is on our behavior. This explains why people with a certain version of a gene, DRD4, that codes for dopamine receptors, tend to be more risk-taking, adventurous, and keen to learn new things. Worldwide, about 20% of people have this gene variation, called DRD4-7R. But here is when it gets interesting, and pay attention to this because the history of the human beings. This gene, the distribution of this gene, is very different from place to place. In North America, 32% of people carry that modification or gene variation. But a staggering 69%, yes, you listen correctly, almost 70% of indigenous South Americans have this gene too. To find out why is the difference, let's go all the way back to the origin of the human species. The key message in this context is dopamine allowed humans to conquer the world. Modern humans evolved in Africa about 200,000 years ago. Millennia passed before they began to spread out to the rest of the world. They reached Asia about 75 years ago, made it to Europe some 30,000 years later, and didn't settle into the last corner of North America until 14,000 years ago. When researchers compare these migration patterns to the distribution of the 7R variation gene, they found something astonishing. The further that human populations venture out of Africa, the higher the percentage of 7R among their people. It seems that humans who conquer the world benefit from the increase of dopamine activity. And also, the more adventurous, the more creative, the more learning seeking, the more abilities to express this kind of gene variation. This makes sense. After all, being risk-taking and adventurous helps when you are heading out into the unknown and you are not fearful. Dopamine is the source of our desires, our tenacity, creativity, and even political beliefs. For most of us, these are the qualities that make us and unique. This means that of all the different brain chemicals, we identify most with dopamine. And ironically, the curious thing is that dopamine makes up a pretty small portion of our brain chemicals. In fact, plenty of your character traits have nothing to do with dopamine. And yet, we often approach our life through a dopamine lens. This can be empowering or disempowering depending on the side that you are taking. Remember that is why these social platforms are using dopamine as the main driver to lure you to become addicted to them. After all, dopamine makes us want more. It drives us forward. Millennia ago, it was also crucial for our survival. But in the modern world, more isn't always better, and forward isn't always the direction of happiness. So, what is the main message of this book? Happiness means finding a balance between dopamine rushes and the serenity of here and now chemicals. Being grateful for today, being grateful for what you have around you, being in gratitude for all your achievements, looking back to your story, to your curriculum, to all the struggles, to whatever you have surpassed, overcome, and how have you transformed your life. And if something doesn't like you, you are still having blank spaces to create a new story and to pursue more dopamine that now makes you really become in a gratitude state for your life. Thank you very much for paying attention, for resonating with these tips of dopamine. If you like the message, if you like the content, please give me a reaction, a comment, a share, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'm going to put the link below in the comments. So, thank you for your time and your attention. Have a wonderful afternoon and rest of the week. See you on the new episodes on Friday, which this next Friday is about perception. That's the tip so that you can watch the episode on Friday. Thank you. Bye.